Talking with TonesTube. We're 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 talking with TonesTube. Hey everybody, and thank you for listening to Talkin with TonesTube, where we discuss regular topics for regular people. Welcome to episode 5 of Talkin with TonesTube, and the topic of the day is what Star Wars means to me. You guys know that I love Star Wars, and I want to talk all about it. So this episode is going to be primarily a Star Wars-esque show. So I hope you enjoy this one, y'all. And if you don't like Star Wars, you're lost. Star Wars Celebration just came out, and there's a lot of exciting news, exciting buzz to talk about as it relates to the Star Wars universe. So the main topic today is going to be Star Wars and what Star Wars means to me. If you don't like Star Wars, then maybe you want to check me on the next episode. And if you're not a Star Wars fan, maybe you want to check out something new and explore something new. What I'd like to start talking about is my first hands-on experience with Star Wars. Basically, when I was, I think, 1 or 2 years old, and I was in the drive-in movie theater, and my mom's brought me there, and I was in the car, and the cantina scene came on, and I was crying my eyes out, and I was just like, Mom, get me out of here. I'm not down with this cantina scene, crying like a madman. So I was crying like a madman, and I was like, probably ODing because of the creatures on the camera and stuff like that. So when I first saw Star Wars, I was petrified. And that's the darn truth. Little did I know that it was going to turn out to be this gigantic part of my life and that I was going to love it so darn much. I love it so darn much that people think I have a problem. I think I'm kind of addicted to Star Wars. You know, nothing was like Star Wars. Star Wars was like nothing I ever saw before. Now, something about that first movie is just really, it captured me. And it captures people that watch this one. Like the formula that happened for this movie was just so much was happening in this movie that you never saw before. And it was really cool. It was really different. It was well done. I mean, you had aliens in it. You had different looking costumes. I mean, at the time it was a huge budget, but it wasn't this big budget crazy millions and millions of dollars movie. And I know they went over budget on that one too. There's so many fascinating things that happened during this process. Now, George Lucas, when he created this and came out with this, a lot of people that he went to thought he was crazy and they thought it was a joke and they thought it was like a silly story, and no production studios wanted to have anything to do with it at the time. But he did have American Graffiti under his belt. He did have some credibility because that one was a successful movie. And I know that the guy from 20th Century Fox, Alan Ladd Jr., I remember watching one of the documentaries and he said that he really didn't know what Star Wars was about. He didn't really get it, but he believed in George Lucas. And I think that's how he greenlit the movie. The movie went on to have some, production issues and stuff like that, but it's just an interesting story in itself to hear about the production of the original film. But that was a very interesting story in itself. There is a documentary called, I think it's Empire of Dreams, and it actually is on Disney, and it's one of the most interesting documentaries I've ever seen in my life. It's not just because I'm super interested in Star Wars. This is a really interesting story. I think you can make a story about the story. I hope they do that one day. But anyway, that movie in itself, it was about heroism. It was about good versus evil. It was about people who started from the bottom and worked their way up. It was about so many different things. And I know George Lucas was big on this mythological, philosophical storytelling where, there was the good guys and the bad guys sort of thing, and that anyone can accomplish anything sort of thing. That's where Luke Skywalker comes in, and he was this little punky, little whiny farmer boy or whatever that became from zero to hero, and it was just such an interesting story. Of course, throw in a couple of lightsabers and some awesome guns and stormtroopers, you got an amazing movie. So, I love that movie from beginning to end. There's so many classic scenes. I will never get tired of it. I memorized the lines. The part where Han shot Greedo, all that stuff, Han Solo, I was a big fan of Han Solo. I loved him. I loved the Millennium Falcon. Just stuff you never saw before on the screen, y'all. Loved that movie. Great from beginning to end. Luke Skywalker was on his way to becoming, this cool Jedi thing. Whatever a Jedi was at the time, you didn't know. But it was interesting. And, it went on to become The Empire Strikes Back. And, for me, if I were to pick my favorite movies of all time, The Empire Strikes Back is my favorite. That would probably be my number 1 or number 2 movies in any list. So Empire Strikes Back to me was a different type of movie as well. It continued the story of Luke Skywalker, got more into a little bit of the crew, the rebels, Han Solo, Darth Vader. Of course, Boba Fett was in there. Cloud City was in there. The Hoth scene, that classic Hoth scene was in there. Bespin, Cloud City was in there. So many cool things going on in Empire Strikes Back. It continued the story. Now, the story that it continued was just a phenomenon. I was just enthralled with it. I remember my Aunt Pat and Uncle Joe took me to see Empire Strikes Back. I think it was 1981 or 1982. And I was like so happy that I got to see the continuation of my favorite movie. And I used to collect the Star Wars figures. I remember that's all I really wanted. I remember my cousin Jennifer always got the same figures that I got. So, we each had the same figures and we would play with them together and stuff. I just remember Star Wars being such an important part of my childhood. I remember the kid next door to me had some Star Wars dolls. They were like 6-inch dolls. And I was so jealous that he had them and I didn't. And it was just really an interesting. Stormtroopers were cool looking and interesting. Jawas were cool looking and interesting. Luke Skywalker was cool looking and interesting. I just remember being completely blown away by Star Wars. Empire Strikes Back was an amazing film. Irvin Kershner, who I actually found out was one of George Lucas's teachers, directed that one. George Lucas did write the story and executive produced. Amazing film. It actually was the first movie that I ever saw where the good guys kind of lost. And to me, that was a completely different scenario. You never really saw that in the movies. Some other movies kind of followed suit, like Lord of the Rings and the Avengers Infinity Gauntlet stuff, where the good guys actually lost. It's just really interesting because you normally don't see that in any flicks. So that was mega interesting in itself. I like any story that's dark and gritty. That's kind of my wheelhouse, So that was totally awesome. You had that big revelation where Darth Vader was like, "Luke, I am your father," and they chopped off his hand and stuff, and that whole scene was classic with the backgrounds and the sceneries and all that stuff. And of course they froze Han. Boba Fett got away with Han Solo and you were like, oh no, Han Solo was one of my favorite characters. Like, what's going to happen to Han Solo? That Empire Strikes Back movie from beginning to end just blew me away. I can watch it a million times and never get sick of it. Boba Fett, Lando Calrissian, just the introduction of so many cool characters. And then of course you're continuing the adventure of Luke and Leia and Han. Just really, really cool. Love that movie. And then of course you have Return of the Jedi, where Return of the Jedi continued that story and, how Luke Skywalker rescued Han and the Bausch disguise that Leia came in with and that rouge that they had going on there. It was just really interesting, different storytelling. 3PO was already there. R2 was already there. R2 had a lightsaber inside of him. It was pretty cool. So there's a lot of coolness going on there, a lot of cool stuff. It shows how Darth Vader came back to the good side. He did bring balance to the Force, as Qui-Gon initially said would happen with Anakin Skywalker, and the tale came true. Really interesting. Emperor Palpatine got thrown down that pit and evaporated or whatever. So that was interesting, where Han Solo was in the Endor and he had to take the force field down, and a lot of cool space scenes and stuff like that, and dogfights in outer space. Like Star Wars had it, and that was awesome. But like Return of the Jedi got a little bit more in depth. It got better at that movie making process and stuff. So Return of the Jedi's dogfight scenes in space was definitely revolutionary and totally awesome. After this trilogy was done, he went back and did a special edition. He added some CG stuff. He was just toying around with the technology to have the next couple of movies. Like, he pushed the envelope in so many different ways with this movie. Lucasfilm and his whole studio, Industrial Light and Magic, pushed the envelope beyond. George Lucas was a genius in that sense, where he just kept wanting to push the envelope and come up with these original stuff. And like his crew really just, the story's super interesting. There's a Disney Plus series, and that, the Industrial Light and Magic stuff, that really blows me away, and it's super interesting. That idea that it was magic. It really was magic, because you see it on the screen and it's like you see this special effects and you're like, wow, it looks real, and it's not, and they make you feel like it's real. So, Industrial Light and Magic, revolutionary, pushed the envelope. Of course, George Lucas and Star Wars helped do that. When he did special edition, that actually opened the realm for him to do CG stuff, computer generated stuff, and the technology was getting bigger and better. Computers were getting bigger and better and stronger. Then he went on to make those next 3 films, which was The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and The Revenge of the Sith. Now, I liked all 3 of these. I know Phantom Menace was a little bit more political. It explained the story behind the politics and the Trade Federation and all this political crap going on. And in a way, you didn't care, but you had to tell that story to explain it. To me, it was totally awesome because you had Darth Maul. There was a lot of cool stuff in there. The pod racing scene was cool. Now, this is pod racing. Some of it was a little cheesy and corny like Jar Jar, but whatever, man. It was cool. It was Star Wars, man. You know, like the battle droids were cool looking. The special effects were beyond. They really stepped it up a notch as it relates to special effects. I enjoyed all those movies. Phantom Menace was awesome. I mean, Darth Maul, you know, this samurai looking dude, double lightsaber, kicking butt, fighting 2 Jedi. Like, you never saw anything like that on the silver screen. So, you know, Darth Maul was totally awesome. Loved it. Qui-Gon Jinn, cool. Liam Neeson destroyed that part. He played that part so perfectly. And then, of course, Ewan McGregor, man. Like, Ewan McGregor, great job at Obi-Wan. Like, not an easy thing to do. To be the young Sir Alec Guinness, you know. Not easy to do, but he did a hell of a job. Of course, Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman was great in that too, Padme. I know Hayden Christensen doesn't always get love. I mean, I appreciate him because he played Anakin, pretty much. Some of his acting was pretty bad, you know, it was pretty cheesy, but I appreciate him, especially in the newer episodes for Obi-Wan. You know, like, you really have a love and an appreciation. Also thought it was interesting how they brought back Jar Jar Binks on my best character, and they made him a Jedi, and they made him save Grogu. That was interesting. Give the guy a little bit of redemption. So stop busting on my best balls, Star Wars fans. I guess that's what Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were trying to do there, but it worked, man. I mean, he was a kick-ass Jedi in that episode. So cool. More power to you, bro. More power to you. So, you know, then you had those movies, and like the way that they wrapped up that movie, Attack of the Clones, was awesome. I mean, you had Jango Fett, and you had the, you know, this ill fight scene with Obi-Wan on Kamino, and, you know, I loved that fight scene. And then, you know, you had like that big beef brawl between all of those mosquito-looking bug guys, and you had Count Dooku with that bent lightsaber, and you had Mace Windu and all these cool-looking Jedis fighting a bunch of super battle droids. And to today's standards, I can understand how people might want a better flick, but I actually thought they were pretty darn good. Revenge of the Sith tied it up nicely with a bow. You know, the way that mask came on Hayden Christensen, and you know, first heard him breathe and talk like Darth Vader. It was totally awesome, and to me, it was seamless the way it came together, especially where Rogue One goes into Star Wars A New Hope. That was pretty seamless. It felt pretty amazing to watch how that happened, and the progression and the transition into the next movie. It was like, wow, they really tied that together nicely. I thought that was really well done. Rogue One was a great flick in itself. It kind of stands in a class of its own in a way. Really great movie, and that's a movie where the good guys really do lose, but they sacrifice. And if it wasn't for what they did, they would not have been able to blow up that Death Star. We'll last longer than we will against that Death Star. Like Lando in Return of the Jedi. And then Admiral Backbot. So many classic scenes. Just love Star Wars, man. I'm such a Star Wars geek. I'm such a Star Wars fan. I'm such a Star Wars nerd. I am proud of it, y'all. See, you know what I'm saying? I got the Star Wars gear, you know what I mean? Got the Star Wars gear. I got the Mando and the Grogu, the Empire Strikes Back cap. You got to look at the bill, y'all. It's a nice bill, so it has the, you know, the poster of the Empire Strikes Back there. Yeah, I mean, if you guys are listening to the podcast, you need to check out the vid and check out this dope hat, this Empire Strikes Back hat. It's pretty nice. Got the nice Empire Strikes Back logo on there, and then you got the bill is the actual poster of the Empire Strikes Back, which has the classic Luke Skywalker on the Tauntaun. You got Han Solo and Princess Leia about to kiss. You know, Lando's at the bottom, and you got C-3PO and Chewbacca and Cloud City's in the background. Pretty cool hat. But anyway, yeah, so, you know, talking about Revenge of the Sith, that can arguably be one of the best. Revenge of the Sith was pretty good. Maybe that's my number 2. It could be my number 3. I mean, Empire is my number 1. Star Wars, I think A New Hope has to be my number 2. I guess you could flip-flop those two because Star Wars A New Hope is the first one. So if you got to put that in order, that's a tough one to do. But still, I'm a huge Empire fan. And then after that, you know, Revenge of the Sith is up there, y'all. Revenge of the Sith is definitely up there. Return of the Jedi's got to be up there. I mean, the classic films to me are a little bit more legendary and epic. Probably because I grew up watching them. Probably because, you know, they have the original characters. And I just think they were super well done, you know, for the time. Even, you know, those movies were ahead of its time. You know, and I like the new movies, y'all. You know, some people out there, oh gosh, you didn't like those new films. I mean, I really enjoyed Force Awakens. It retold the story almost the same. Okay. But, you know, you replaced Luke with a girl. Okay. You know, fine. I thought that Kylo Ren was a dope character. I thought that the First Order troopers were really cool looking. I liked Force Awakens. I mean, Force Awakens was pretty dope. It brought back Star Wars. The real-life timeline between Revenge of the Sith and The Force Awakens was 10 years. So 2005... was when Revenge of the Sith was released, and 2015 is when The Force Awakens was released. So you waited 10 years to see this, and I think there was a lot of in JJ we trust kind of stuff. I don't know. I liked it. I didn't dislike it. I thought it was great. The second one was a little weird. I'm not going to lie. Seeing Luke Skywalker that way was a little odd for me. But, after I watched it, I was disappointed at the time a little. But after I watched it, I said, why not? I was like, he's a little washed up. He's gotten older. He's been through some. So, if he's been through a lot, then, he looks kind of beat up and scruffy and, he's a little depressed or whatever. I mean, he's isolated on an island by himself. I mean, why not? Just because you're a Jedi doesn't mean you're untouchable and super and all this stuff, you know what I'm saying? Luke Skywalker being all beat up and stuff and drinking that blue milk from that weird cow-looking seal thing was a little bit odd, but I thought it was semi-interesting. It threw me for a loop, not gonna lie, but it was okay, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't against it. I was a little weirded out by the kids, the kids being able to use the Force out of nowhere. To me, that was a little odd. I think they strayed away from it. I liked that movie. I liked it. I didn't love it. And then the next one I liked, I liked the story of Kylo. I liked the story of Rey. I enjoyed, the new movies in general, overall. I liked Poe Dameron. I liked Finn. I thought it was a cool click. Wasn't against it. It's just, I felt like that last movie, I felt like it was a little rushed. In the beginning, it was fine. The middle, it was fine. Towards the end, I was like, I didn't dislike the idea of them bringing back the Emperor. I thought that was cool. It's just the way they did it. I didn't understand how it happened. I wish they could have done a better job at explaining it. I know he was like a clone or built up from a bunch of, midichlorians or something in a lab tank or something where he was building himself and he was trying to suck the energy out of people or Rey or I don't know. I wish they did a better job explaining it. I like that they added a little bit of a horror-esque tip to it, sort of, when they initially were showing the Emperor. I wasn't against that. I just thought that the Rise of Skywalker, towards the end, when Kylo was kind of becoming a good guy, I was like, wouldn't that be interesting if they flipped it and the Rise of Skywalker was actually Ben Solo, right? Kylo Ren. There was a part where he came up from that little rock pit or whatever when he got his ass kicked. When he was coming up, that I was like, oh crap, the Rise of Skywalker is Kylo Ren. And I was just like, wow, that's so cool. If that was going to happen, it felt like an anime. And only like Japanese animation stories have the balls to do crazy like that. And I was super intrigued when it was happening because the thought came through my mind. Of course, I didn't like when they killed Han Solo. That was a little bit of a bummer for me because I'm a big Han Solo fan. But I guess it was time, I guess. And I liked how they tried to do like a film for Han, a film for Leia, and a film for Luke. I thought that was cool. It was fitting. Kind of to pay tribute and to make the story more about them and emphasize more on them. Of course, it was sad when Carrie Fisher in real life passed away, so rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. But the movies were really good. Let's get back to the ending of Rise of Skywalker. Rey becoming related to the Emperor. Okay, it was a cool twist, I guess. It didn't like wow me and blow me away, but it was a good idea, I guess. Explained how Rey became strong with the Force and stuff, and explained a little bit of how Palpatine was really dead set on getting her down with the team and whatever. So that was cool, I guess. It wasn't bad. I just didn't like the way all of a sudden she just had all the Jedi behind her and she held up her lightsabers in an X and it melted him. I was like, what? It doesn't even make sense. I guess it did because she had all the Jedi's behind her and he had all the Sith behind him or some stuff like that. I just thought it would have been cooler if her and Kylo got together and beat him, I guess, like an actual like beef brawl. And I know they did. They got into it a little. They got into a lightsaber scrap, no doubt, but it wasn't much of a scrap. It was more about her, picking up those two lightsabers and be like, roar, all the Jedi, and melted him. I thought that was kind of silly. It was just like, all right, let's end this. Let's kill the Emperor. How are we going to do it? So, I don't know. I just was a little disappointed in the ending. It was also kind of weird and dumb. I didn't mind that she went to Tatooine. I didn't mind she buried the lightsabers. I didn't even mind that Luke and Leia gave her a nod. But then when they said she was Rey Skywalker or she was a Skywalker or Rey said she was a Skywalker, I was like, really? You're Palpatine, dude. I guess you got adopted. I don't know. You looked up as Leia as your mom, I guess. You look up to Luke as your dad, sort of, like a dad figure. He, actually tried to help you and train you or whatever. The thing that's funny about Star Wars, too, in general, is, like, the training. Luke, he got trained for 3 days. Oh, I guess they don't show some of that on screen. And then, Rey got trained for, like, a couple of days, too. So all of a sudden, they're Jedis. But, it's a movie. It's a story, so. So, yeah, I was a little disappointed about the ending of that, but like I said before, and I always will say this, more Star Wars is better than no more Star Wars stories. Disney and Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, they're trying, they're doing their thing. I was really bummed when they stopped making live action films. I guess because Solo to them was such a box office disappointment. I didn't think Solo was bad. I liked it. There was some answers. There was some cool things that happened. The one dumb thing was that weird squid shrimp looking thing that came out of the water. Like, I don't know how that guy is a drug lord or whatever, or in charge when you're like underwater and you really can't do anything. You don't have any powers, but I don't know, I guess. The same way that Jabba the Hutt did, I guess. But that shrimp-looking thing was kind of dumb in the beginning of Solo. And it was kind of weird how they killed it or started going at it when he drew a glass and sunlight killed him like a vampire. I don't know. That was kind of dumb. But the rest of it was pretty cool. I enjoyed watching the young Han Solo. I enjoyed the Millennium Falcon. He stole it from Lando or whatever. Like, they showed that. I don't know. How could you not like that? I thought it was cool, man. I thought that they were introducing Ventress Asajj with the chick from Game of Thrones. I thought that's what they were doing there. It was pretty awesome how they gave it a spin and, they put Darth Maul on there. I thought that was super interesting. So Darth Maul was training Asajj. I thought that was going to be Asajj. I mean, she's a chick. She's about the right age. She just wasn't bald yet. So I don't know. I thought that was where we were going with that. So I'm kind of dying to see part 2. And I want to see Darth Maul with those robotic legs in live action. I thought that was super interesting. I was intrigued. I liked it. And I liked that Infant's Nest. I don't know how you say that. I really liked that character. She looked pretty cool. Even without the helmet, I thought she was pretty cool. I thought the story was good. I liked Solo. Didn't not like it. It was messed up when the girl kind of turned on him, but that was the twist. But anyway, it showed how he met Chewbacca and all that stuff, and I liked it. So Solo was cool to me, so all of a sudden Lucasfilm taking a step back and not making any more movies, I was like, what the man? So, I was a little bummed about that, but one other thing I wanted to add about Star Wars, guys, I think it's a special family, tight-knit thing. What I mean by that is I feel like this story kind of brings families together. I think it's a family movie that you watch together. I don't know, maybe I feel that way because I watched it with my sister and mother as a kid and my cousins and stuff like that, and everybody in the family loved it. But I feel like it's the type of movie that's kind of handed down from generations, if you will. I think it's a big part of my life in that it brings me together with my family, or it makes me feel like that family environment where you could talk about what happens and stuff like that. Me and my fam were always interested in Star Wars and always into it. So, it's kind of a thing that's passed down from generation to generation. So I just wanted to mention that about Star Wars. I feel like it's a special thing between dads and sons and uncles and nephews and cousins and stuff like that. There's nothing else out there like it. The characters, the collectibles, all that stuff. Nothing else out there like it. That's why to me it's so special and it's so intriguing. It's iconic. It's epic. It's legendary. So, check out Star Wars because Tonestoop says so. I know most of you have already watched Star Wars. Maybe some of you even know more than me about Star Wars, even though I know a lot about Star Wars. But there's some of the stuff I don't know. I haven't read all the books. I don't know a lot about the old Jedi Republic. Say that 10 times fast. Some of those video games I didn't play. So I don't know all those lore and stories, but I do know that some of those characters are super interesting. We'll get into that a little bit later. Talking about Star Wars and, the continuation and stuff, we're going to get into another segment of the show and kind of finish what we were talking about. But before we do that, we are going to get into the next segment of the show, which is the album to reflect on. So today's album to reflect on is Black Moon Enter the Stage. Enter the Stage was released in 1993. Enter the Stage is the debut album by American East Coast hip-hop group Black Moon, released on October 19th, 1993 through Nervous Records. This album was produced by Black Moon member DJ Evil D along with Mr. Walt of the Beat Miners. Enter the Stage features the debut of underground hip-hop duo Smith & Wesson, as well as appearances from Havoc of Mobb Deep and Drew Ha, the co-founder of Duck Down Records. Let's not forget Buckshot Shorty. I'm surprised they don't put him in there. So despite being critically acclaimed and having 2 singles that charted on the Billboard Hot 100, Who Got the Props and I Got You Open, the album sold poorly. Enter the Stage served as a precursor to the resurgence of the New York hip-hop scene in the mid-1990s. The album was executive produced by Drew Ha and Mike Weiss. That is really funny that it sold poorly. This is one of my favorite albums in the world. Just a huge fan of Black Moon, just a huge fan of Boot Camp Click. I met Boot Camp Click. I met quite a few of them. I hung out with them. They're really cool people. Buckshot Shorty was a really knowledgeable, nice guy trying to, spread the love and the knowledge. Sean Price was a larger-than-life individual. He just like how he is. He just was a happy, fun-loving guy. Now, to me, every single song is awesome. This is a legendary, epic album, powerful impact. Hardcore, gritty beats there. Great production. Niggas Talk, Who Got the Props, Act Like You Want It, Buck 'Em Down, Black Smith & Wesson, Son Get Wrecked, Make Money Money, Slave, I Got You Open, Israel, Enter the Stage, and How Many MCs, and You the Man. So it's hard to pick one song out of this album. It's just, every single one of these songs is pretty dope. And I know I mentioned it before on my Black Sheep album of the day. A lot of these songs from this album were remixed and remade, and a lot of them were more casual spins on the song, because this was a hardcore album at the time for underground hip-hop in the 90s. So, some of those remixes were really casual, really good feeling, relaxing type vibes, great music. I would say Black Moon really invented the remix, and Black Sheep when they came out with some of those remixes for their popular songs. Just great remixes. The remix was much different from the song. The beat was different. Even some of the words and the way he says the words were a little different. I really give them props. Get it? Who got the props? Really give them props for this whole album, but I give them props for the remix. Who Got the Props is a great song. Act Like You Want It is a great song. I Got You Open is a great song. Enter the Stage. Wow, so many. And then, of course, How Many MCs? So here is some listening, action. Black Moon, How Many MCs Must Get Dissed?
Follow me on a journey to see a for real MC. The mind tricks the body thinks the mind is crazy. Whatever's lazy, when I get the flow, I'm Swayze. I break, you take whatever type of shit the nigga Buckshot make. The incredible, lyrical, and original. You can kill a bull if you wanna take a pull. Whatever I see, I attack. Fuck off my back, black nigga, fuck that. The devil lurks and my heart irks for the hell. Look into the eyes of a nigga who fell. I hit my head on the concrete to beat the feet. Another dead nigga in the street. Bullseye, direct hit, don't miss. But how many MCs must get this?
So, that was like my favorite track from the album, although there are plenty. I love the whole album from beginning to end, but that is my fave. It's got that really hardcore beat, hardcore underground hip-hop right there. Buckshot Shorty, Black Moon, in full effect, BCC Boot Camp Click. I am a Boot Camp Click fan for life. So, big up to Boot Camp Click. Hope you check out that album. If you're a fan of hip-hop, especially underground, you got to check that one out. And if you haven't, you're lost. So there's that. So that was the listening, action. Song of the day. Okay, so Listenin Action. Black Moon, how many MCs must get this? So let's get into the next part of the show, which is the show that I'm watching. So the show that I'm watching is Celebration 2023 for Star Wars. That's right, y'all. So there's a lot of big news on Star Wars. This is super exciting. Some of it I'm excited about. Some of it I'm like, but most of it I'm excited about. So the show that I'm watching is on YouTube, and it's Star Wars Celebration 2023 in Europe. Man, I wish I could go and I was rich and I could take off work and just chill and dress up as a Jedi. I can't do that, but that's pretty cool. A lot of cool announcements. So where do I start? 3 new movies, y'all, on the horizon from Lucasfilm, officially announced. Now, you could technically take these with a grain of salt, because every time they announce a movie for Lucasfilm, it gets canned somehow. Somehow it gets thrown in the garbage and it never comes to the light of day. So I'll believe it when I see it technically, but it's really exciting to hear that they are making some movies. These movies do sound like they are official legit. I mean, they did announce them at Star Wars Celebration, and these do sound like real things that they would do. So the chances of these getting made, I would say, are pretty good. So the first one I want to talk about is 15 years after the rise of Skywalker, Rey Skywalker, as we discussed earlier, 15 years after, she's going to attempt to rebuild the Jedi Order. So I would say that's pretty interesting. I guess there's going to be a new baddie in town, because Kylo Ren's gone. It'd be cool to see a new badass villain. I'm sure that's going to be awesome. And that one is actually going to be directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, which is the Miss Marvel director. So I'm looking forward to that one. That one sounds like it could be pretty good. The next one I want to talk about is by Dave Filoni himself. So the creator, executive producer of The Mandalorian is actually going to be working on a film that is going to culminate the shows that we're watching on Disney+. Mandalorian, Book of Boba, and Ahsoka. So those 3 shows are going to somehow intertwine, and I'm pretty sure this movie is going to bring a lot of those stories together, and it's going to probably end it. That would be my guess. I guess it's going to end Grogu's story and Din Djarin, however you say it, Mandalorian's story. So it's going to be really nice to see that on the silver screen. Dave Filoni has breathed new life into the Star Wars saga, so I trust him, and I think it's going to be a good one. So the next movie, that's going to focus on the New Republic era. So that is going to be really interesting to check out. And we also have a film by James Mangold. James Mangold actually wrote and directed, or just wrote, the Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny, which also was announced on the Star Wars Celebration, which was pretty great to see. I mean, Harrison Ford still looks great. Big up to Harrison Ford. And being Indiana Jones, I'm looking forward to another indie movie. Probably going to see that one in the theaters. Looking forward to it. Looks good. So, so he's off of that one, and he is going to be doing a film that is going to be set 25,000 years in the past. 25,000 years in the past. And it's going to be the origin of the Jedi Order. So that should be super interesting, to see the beginning of the Jedi Order and how it all pans out and bringing that story together. Excited about that one. And, there's a couple of other ones. They got the Lando series that they're still talking about. I don't know how much news is out there on that one, but it should definitely be happening. I assume that Donald Glover will be playing that role again. And, of course, you got the Ahsoka series. Now, the trailer was super exciting. The Ahsoka series, August 2023. The best part, guys, is seeing Admiral Thrawn. Now, if you read Heir to the Empire, which I actually did read most of that book, I still haven't finished it. Shame on me, I know. Shame on me. Shame on me. The Heir to the Empire is a very popular storyline. And from what I've read of Admiral Thrawn, he's pretty kick-ass. I mean, he's got blue skin and red eyes, and he's got a white outfit. He wears like the sergeant outfit of the Imperials, and he's in charge, and he's the Grand Admiral. He's pretty badass. And he's found out ways to make Jedi wielders of the Force not have their powers with these Esalamirs. They're like worms that take away the Force powers from the Jedi. So that should be interesting. Thrawn being in a live action here, guys, that's a big deal. Thrawn is badass. I'm telling you, I'm looking forward to that one just for Thrawn. Nothing against Rosario. You're a great actress, and I love the way that you play Ahsoka. You're just a great actress in general, Rosario. So big up to Rosario. Looking forward to that live action. She's got 2 lightsabers. I really like the Ahsoka character. Not my favorite in the franchise, but I definitely did like the character. Seeing Rosario Dawson bring that character to life is really special. In The Mandalorian, I really enjoyed it. I loved it. Looking forward to her own show. So big up to Rosario. Rosario Dawson. Big up to watching that Ahsoka Tano series in August 2023. So awesome stuff there. And then they really pushed this Acolyte show. So they pushed The Acolyte, which is actually directed by Leslie Headland. So this is going to be in the High Republic era before the events of the main Star Wars films. Amandla Steinberg and Lee Jung-jae, who you guys know as the guy who was in the Squid Games. So they're going to be starring in that. This will be 100 years before The Phantom Menace. It will explain how the Sith infiltrated the Jedi. Sounds like a really interesting series. I'm hoping that it's dark. It sounds dark. And speaking of dark, or speaking of Darth, there is going to be a lot of Darths in this one, guys. I'm hearing Darth Revan's going to be in this. Darth Plagueis is going to be in this. Darth Malak is going to be in this. And Darth Malgus. So these are some of the most badass Darth characters that we've ever seen. And I'm looking forward to seeing these guys on screen. This is going to be epic, y'all. So, I'm really looking forward to some of that new Star Wars-ness coming out. That one is not going to be out till 2024, but a lot of cool Star Wars stuff happening in the future. So it's an exciting time to be a Star Wars fan, y'all. And I had to take time to explain some of that to y'all so you guys are aware of some of the new news for Star Wars. And I'm really looking forward to it, guys. It's definitely an exciting time to be a Star Wars fan, y'all. So that is the show that I'm watching, y'all. Excited to give you guys some of that news. For the next part of the show, stuff you need to try for your well-being. Now, guys, it would be really silly if I didn't say this. Any escapism is good. Any way that you can watch a show or get into a story is good. But you know what I gotta say here, y'all. Watching Star Wars. Guys, stop what you're doing and watch Star Wars if you haven't done that, man. Use the Force. Go in front of your TV, sit down and watch the original, A New Hope. You can start there. Just such a great flick. Escapism in general is great, just to get away from some of your problems for 5 minutes. So, to get into any story, any storyline is really an important thing to do. Any type of therapeutic or just, relaxation just to take your mind off. Know what I mean? But watching Star Wars, guys, is stuff you need to try for your well-being, especially if you haven't done it before. If you haven't seen Star Wars, you're lost. The next part of the show is, what the heck is on my mind today? What the heck else could be on my mind today other than Star Wars? Star Wars Celebration is on. I'm watching it. It's really exciting to see. Wish I could go to one of those things. It must be so cool. I'm not one of them cosplay type dudes, but it must be a lot of fun to go to these. Kind of like a Comic-Con, but it's a Star Wars-a-thon. I had probably the time of my life when I was in Galaxy's Edge, just being in the Star Wars universe and feeling like I was in it. So to see these announcements live and to see these actors live must be a lot of fun, y'all. So what the heck is on my mind today is really exciting time to be a Star Wars fan. I know I said it 3 times already, but really is. Really happy to hear that Disney and Lucasfilm is coming out with some new Star Wars films. So that is what the heck is on my mind today. So, original song by CYBERTONE. CYBERTONE, Chartone, original song, y'all. This one is, I know I probably talked on the first episode, and I know I've talked about how hip-hop was to me at the time, late 90s. I'm a 90s hip-hop head. Late 90s hip-hop to me. It started getting a little odd towards the end of the 90s into the 2000s. I didn't really care for some of it. I was more into the underground stuff, as you guys probably have figured out already. But like some of this Puff Daddy stuff and Jadakiss and 50 Cent, I know those are club favorites, and don't hate me, but I just wasn't into that stuff, y'all. I like them for what they are, the club hits or whatever, but when those come on, I usually prefer to sit down. I guess I'll sit there and bob my head for a little bit. But if I'm dancing on the dance floor and I'm hopping to It Takes Two by Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, and then I'm dancing to some House of Pain jump around type stuff, and then I hear Black Sheep Choice Is Yours, I'm off the easy at that point, and then all of a sudden y'all throw on 50 Cent or Jadakiss or Ludacris or one of those guys. I don't know, I get them confused. Or the guy that always talks like this, baby. That guy, I can't get into that stuff. It's just not my thing. I gotta respect them for what they are. Those guys are doing their thing, and they help transition hip-hop. Not sure if that's a good thing, because it turned into whatever weirdness it is today. But this song is about spiking the punch. Chartone, CYBERTONE, we were throwing a little extra something in there. We were spiking the punch. The punch meaning hip-hop. Us adding that extra little flavor, or that little twist of flavor, if you will. That's basically what this song's about, y'all. So let's listen to it. The CYBERTONE original song of the day. You guys know this beat.
It seems like there's a party, but there's hardly any grooving. The punch bowl is the industry and no one's really doing music that's different, it's just the same old, same old. Yabasa, so is Gigi, Ja Rule, or J-Lo. No offense to them, yo, I'm not hating, I'm waiting for other talent to challenge the artists who keep taking variety and creativity out of the show. That's why Tony and I came by to spike the bowl with tight flows, butter beats, and some green alcohol. We got honeys taking tips and about to fall. I shout for y'all, cause ain't no one doing shit. Charge on swag beats and lyrics to get your movie, kid.
And player and doing it.
Trying hard to stay true in it.
You're using it, we ruin it.
We spike the punch, they ruin it.
There's not just one, there's two in it.
Regardless, kid, we're ruling it. We be spiking the punch. We be spiking the punch. Let you know now. We be spiking the punch. You didn't know what? We be spiking the punch. We be spiking the punch.
In the school cafeteria, you just caught me a bagel. My boys are making beats banging on the table. After I'm done chomping, I'll be willing and able to rep spit my shit, and I go by the label of HOBIT in this group called Chatone. My boy's name is Charlie, it's Char if he's alone. He's the beat maker, the engineer is me Tone. This ain't no regular punch, we spike it on this microphone. Punch meaning rap without that extra little something. Add us in the ingredients, that means Chatone is coming. Pick up, we be spiking the punch. We be spiking the punch. We be spiking the punch. We be spiking the punch.
Oh no, oh yes, it's another smooth rhythm. I'll style I get in, and whether you're wildin' or you're chillin', I feel like stealing back what is rightfully ours. Hip-hop is for the people, cause it's the people with power. It's either now or never, remember there's only one. So do what you gotta do to get a piece of that sun. If you got it, then let it be heard. Rock it and mean every word as if it was your last before you left this earth. From your first day of birth to when you're under the dirt. If you got it in a verse, make sure that shit is man tight. Whether it's off the top or the shit that you write. Cause if it's garbage, we'll be honest, but don't think it's a spite. The type of tempo getting into what we've been through. A nice memento for a simple issue to hit you. Cause ever since these two got together with the beats, it's been buttery, flavory, type of next level treats. Is it me or do others get bored? It's what's popular. That's the reason we spit, so people could rock with us. So stop with the popping, fluffing off of stuff that's got me buffing up. Phlegm and vomit, honest, it's gotten so really rotten. Spiking the punch, bringing it back to hip hopping. We spiking the punch. What? We be spiking the punch. Don't you know? We be spiking the punch. Recognize, we be spiking the punch. Once again, we be spiking the punch. We be spiking the punch.
Chatone is about regular, funny, typical stuff. Not about coming hard, killing and acting all rough. See, we think of the early days of way back when on our street corner guys would beatbox and represent. Nowadays the same corner is a place where lives end. Some people that are killed there are really just innocent. Stop all the dumb shit, choose the right words and give a shit. Cause you don't know whether you will see the next day. It could mean something though, let's teach a positive way. Instead of bragging about how much dough you have, how many people you killed, how much girls are in your past. Use rap as a tool to make all the people laugh. You say keep it real, but real rhymers honor their craft. It's not about the fame or the money making math. This rap is filthy like a pig, only it really needs a bath. Sing the chorus with me, Chanson's here, so feel the wrath. We be spiking the punch.
We be spiking the punch. Yeah, now we be spiking the punch. You didn't know. We be spiking the punch. Yeah, now we be spiking the punch.
We be spiking the punch. Oh, yo, we get this. We be spiking the punch. Chatone. We be spiking the punch. My microphone. While those dumb motherfuckers, cause rappers forgot us, I got us. Well, it's nice out today, so I think I'll go home and roll up to my man's house, Charlie.
What's up, Tony? You on your cellular?
But it's not the cellular no more, now it's the headphones in the car when I'm driving. Yo, now I'm mad loving. What you doing? I'm just parlaying, representing, but I'm on the phone with you, and all the people are sweating us. I got the play button on, Char, don't worry about it. I'm about to come to the crib to scream and shout it. Will they hate us? No way, that's impossible, I doubt it. Word be on stage, the lines to get in mad crowded. Must be the Chatone shit. Well, it's coming out the speaker. We could be like, I'm the little troll and you're the big type ill creature. We be spiking a punch. We be spiking a punch. Yo, for real, will we be spiking a punch? We be spiking a punch. Before every party, we be spiking a punch. We be spiking a punch. You didn't know what? We be spiking a punch. Whoa, 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 whoa. We be spiking a punch. Y'all niggas is funny. We be spiking a punch. Bring it back to the pop. We be spiking a punch. And you're striking a punch.
And Mayor Giuliani.
Striking a punch. And your sister striking a punch.
Daughter-in-law.
Striking a punch. And what about everything you like?
Striking a punch.
And what about the bowl before a party? Striking a punch.
Whoa, yeah, so Spiking the Punch, Chartone, CYBERTONE, What Happened to the Rapping? Yeah, man, I really like that song. That's a good one. Really just a casual type vibe on there, you know, just talking about changing up hip-hop, making it, you know, a little different, adding a little twist in the game, you know what I'm saying? So, Spiking the Punch is the original CYBERTONE song of the day. Hope y'all enjoyed that one. So, that wraps up episode 5 of Talkin with TonesTube, where we discuss regular topics for regular people. If you enjoyed, don't forget to click subscribe, and also don't forget to click the bell notification so you don't miss any of my videos. Wouldn't want to do that. If you're listening and you want to check out some cool TonesTube stuff, make sure you follow the Facebook group. Thank you for watching Talkin with TonesTube, where we discuss regular topics for regular people. See you next time, guys, on episode 6. Talking with TonesTube, we're talking with TonesTube, we're talking with TonesTube, talking with TonesTube, we're talking with TonesTube, we're talking with TonesTube.